Okay, so we are live. Um, Welcome again. I hope you watched yesterday's intro session. Um, this is my promise to myself that I like to really follow the World Championship and understanding what's going on in the games instead of just watching a stream, letting commentators explain everything. And here I really like to think for myself. And this course by Chessable, World Chess Championship 2024 Ding versus Gukesh, will probably help me with this. So, yeah, I'm going to explain for the newcomers what's going on. And Chessable is offering this free course by IM Andras Toth. And yeah, it's all about the daily video recap. And then, of course, tactics and strategic problems to solve. Train your skills from games at the very highest level. And that is the World Chess Championship, of course. So I'm really curious how this will go. Andreas is in Singapore himself. I don't know if he will give us some video of what he's experiencing there in Singapore. And that would be, of course, also great. But yeah, we see how this is going. So yeah, basically it's for everyone. And yeah, I'm very curious as this really is the first game that he's covering. Yesterday was introduction. And so everybody, I'm rooting for Ding from day one because I just like his personality so much. And I really hope that we will have a strong end of the otherwise not so good year, of course. So with that, yeah, we just start right away. I click on browse. In chat, feel free to just write questions or anything else. So it's learn and we are in. I'm checking on my second monitor here if everything looks okay. Yes, it does. So I'll go right to the video that I hope will appear, and then we'll watch that together, of course.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Yes,
welcome to the course that we are conducting on the World Championship match, which is held right here in Singapore in this marvelous city at the Hotel Aquarius. Chess celebrities wherever I look. And I really don't want to jump into the analysis of game one before I give you a bit of an insight. I guess I really don't want to make it sound about me, but I think I really need to give you a bit of a context and what I have been experiencing around the venue. And I really do hope, by the way, to provide some visuals later on, which will be added to the course too. So it is just absolutely next level how much chess, how many chess celebrities are around. Chess is everywhere. Tournaments are going to be played alongside the World Championship match. The place is buzzing with famous grandmasters, world champions. I mean, only today, as I was walking around the venue, I counted, I think, 4 world champions. Let me just think it through. So I came across Alexandra Kostenyuk, Zhu Wenjun, Zia Jun, and Vishy Anand, who, by the way, also happened to take his breakfast right next to my table yesterday, and many others. Today, I shared a charter bus with Boris Gelfand and Pavel Elianov. It is just chess on steroids in a very good way. So I'm really excited to be here. It is an absolute pleasure. And I really do hope that I can give you, other than, just a bit of an insight into what went down and a bit of a breakdown of the game, a bit of a feel for what it is like to be in Singapore, witnessing as chess history is being written. Yeah, so today was obviously game number 1. Gukesh got the white colors and a more comfortable chair. And I'm not even joking, the players actually chose different chairs, and Ding went with a very humble office chair looking sort of thing, whereas Gukesh's is a more robust, more imposing thing. Some people were even joking that Gukesh already is expressing superiorities through the chair, but none of that was to happen. At least not by the looks of things at today. So
Yes, but Gukesh chose a gaming chair, so maybe he's just in for a game, totally underestimating Ding. So, but just kidding, of course.
Well, yeah, let's take a look at the games, and perhaps I will drop a few more golden nuggies of interesting things, fun facts, and so on. So French defense, the game was, and that was a bit of a surprise, I suppose, to many of us. Although, think who is Ding's known second. The players have been very secretive about who their seconds were, and they both named only one. Ding named Richard Rapport, my countryman from Hungary, Richard, and Gukesh has Gajewski. But of course, everyone is 100% certain that there are behind the players. But of course, this needs to be hush hush and secret in order to ensure that the players can't figure out what kind of surprises are awaiting. So the French, of course, is frequently deployed by our friend Rapport. So maybe it wasn't such a big. And it wasn't actually 92 that happened in the game, but 93. No, I did not misenter the game. What happened was that as I was watching the game at the venue, um, a vague memory came to me about a French game, and I thought that to warm up our tactical senses, I would show you what went down in that game because, as luck would have it, it was also played by the world champion, none other than the Latvian, the magician of from Riga, Mikhail Tal, who went into this crazy sacrificial line. I'm only going to show you the end because that's what popped up in my head, where he played here the super spectacular knight c4, threatening bishop g5. But Black thought that he had everything covered with bishop g5, bishop h6 rather, excuse me. But after bishop takes came a rude shock, and Tal ran away with a beautiful checkmate after sacking 3 pieces. So this was the game that went through my head as I was standing in the tournament hall, or rather in a room adjacent to the tournament hall where people with tickets can watch the game, play games, listen to the commentary, and so on. And yeah, I thought, wow, that was so cool. And then as the game progressed on, I actually remembered that I published an analysis earlier on. This is already where um, about a certain game between a certain Grishuk against Wang Hao, which featured exactly this early knight c3, knight f6, e5, and then f4, c5, knight e2 variation, with the idea that Black wants to play c3 and create an absolutely fantastic pawn chain in the center and dominate Black with that space advantage. So that was a really spectacular game. And by the way, quite interestingly, it was also played in a candidates match. So it had some relevance to the World Championship match. Anyway, so I was quite excited to see where the novelty would come. A5 was played. Bishop e7 is another way to play here, where Black is quickly ready to get castled and then play f6 to blow up the center. A5 is a more positional method to gain more territory on the queen side and hold development back for the time being. So knight f3, a4, as discussed, bishop e3, bishop e7. Now Black is getting ready to develop too, g4. And I think this is roughly where we are coming off of the trodden path. I couldn't find any games for this position. At least h4 was seen in a number of encounters. Now g4 is a very curious move here, because to me, who used to play the French a fair bit, and also to me, who really likes aggressive attacking ideas, g4 is screaming f5 next, right? Like that's what breakthrough is in the French. And boy, was I wrong when I actually typed in engine, or rather fed my engine, the move castles and excitedly played f5. And then the engine just looks at me going like, not happening, friend. This is how you get absolutely slaughtered here. Takes. And for this, by the way, I really should turn the board around. Takes and f6. Now that is an absolute bomb of a move dropped on white. It's very tricky in these closed pawn structures in the French to tell who is ahead in terms of development. And if you look at the board right now, we could claim that perhaps it's black because black is castled and only has one minor piece left undeveloped, which is the c8 bishop, whereas white has the f1 bishop and the king uncastled. But to me, it's always a bit of a tricky one. What happens here once the center explodes and essentially this, check this out, fe6, fe5. Now that's instantly a piece suck idea. Obviously, this kind of chess is unlikely to pop up in a world championship final because this looks like a Morphy game. Takes d7, takes f3, takes c8, wins the piece, and essentially immediately loses the game. This is really a beautiful demonstration of how things can spiral out of hand in the French if black plays very energetic, aggressive chess at the first given opportunity when they sense that white has somehow dropped the ball. And here, despite the fact that white is up a piece, the engines will tell you that it's about -5. I found a beautiful line to demonstrate the dangers lurking around. Bishop g1, one of the few moves to defend the bishop h4 check, and essentially now we are en route to a forced mate. Now, of course, white can throw in here knight f4 and bishop e3, but I wanted to demonstrate to you the idea in its purest form. So I went with king c2, but after knight b4, queen g6, that king got caught and checkmated. And now we can talk about development. Look at the back rank fest. Every single white piece is at home, except for the knight that is currently located on e2 as the most developed white piece. And that is just plain embarrassing, really. Yeah, so that was a very interesting idea to me, and it actually made me wonder about this g4 idea from Gukesh, because according to the machine, after castles, the best move that white has is g5. But that is so unusual, because now it basically means that white can entirely forget about the f5 break, whereas black's idea of b5, b4 is going to be golden, absolutely golden. So I definitely prefer black here, hands down, 100%. Anyway, interestingly enough, Gukesh instead opted for queen a5. Excuse me, Ding opted for queen a5, another very logical move. The idea behind this queen sortie is to create a pin on the c pawn, and so when we take on d4, white cannot recapture with the pawn and maintain the pawn chain in the center. Often, by the way, in similar lines in the 92 French, in similar positions, white often plays a move like king f2 to dodge the pin. The problem here is, again, very similar to what we observed before, which is that after castles with the subsequent f6, it is definitely going to be a problem piece for white to have that king on f2 exposed. Instead, Gukesh opted for bishop g2, continuing development, but allowing black, excuse me, to mess with the pawn chain on the queen side. So a3 played, b3 as a response landed, and now after cd, indeed, Gukesh had to come up with the clever b4, kicking the queen and then taking back on d4. Now the structure has drastically changed. There is a backward pawn on c3. There is a square to be exploited on c4. So this is quite unpleasant. But on the flip side, white is definitely better developed, and so the position is still close to equal anybody's game. Knight b6, super logical, en route to c4, castles, knight c4, and bishop f2. Now, as a result of knight c4 coming with a tempo, now it seems like Ding is catching up very comfortably in the development department, and indeed there is nothing here that black should worry about. Queen e2 played, knight d4, and here is where I think Gukesh lost the thread of the game in a way that set him up for a position where it was mostly about defense, because he chose to recapture with the knight, a very natural move, by the way, because A, we prefer knights on outposts, and d4 is an outpost. B, it sort of clears the f file, and the knight on d4 also supports the f5 push. Despite all of this, it appears that bishop takes d4 was the better capture, primarily because it successfully covers the c3 pawn. The bishop on d4 acts like a big pawn, an oversized pawn connecting against the pawn chain between c3 and e5, and potentially later on allowing f5 plans as well. So yeah, knight d4 played, but now Ding just absolutely turned it up a notch, and yeah, he just went after white. Knight b2, a very unusual way to create a discovered attack on the c3 pawn. And yeah, after queen e3, rook c8, now it is looking like a serious defense ahead for the Indian GM, who played, by the way, in this position, rook c1, correct. And after queen c4, again, the f5 idea. This is somehow, it appears to be an interesting idea in the game that was missed on multiple occasions, sometimes correctly, sometimes maybe it should have been played. Here, for example, after queen d3, queen f4, black would have had to find this very resourceful g5 move. So many unusual, unorthodox moves to be observed in this game. First, black lunged forward with a5, a4, a3, broke the center, and now we are lunging forward on the king side with g5. Such a random scenario, but really what it is that if the queen drops back to trade queens, whereas f take g6 allows black to return to g6 with the queen, vacating the d3 square for the knight with a very dirty looking fork, and also h5 is on the cards to open up the king side. Wow. If on the other hand we go queen g3, then after queen takes, bishop takes comes another really awesome maneuver. Bishop d8, first maybe castles, but bishop d8 right away is already playable. And the idea is that we are going to introduce the bishop on an entirely new diagonal on a b6. And it is going to be a really, really pleasant position for black. So this is where Gukesh really dropped the ball. He dropped back to e1, and after bishop g5, now it is just all about black, black, black. The pieces are flooding in. c3 is chronically weak, and white doesn't seem to have enough play. In the French, traditionally, generally, especially in these very ambitious setups, you really want to hit the king side as hard as possible. And somehow it feels like the bishop in particular on g2, but the f1, the f2 one too, they're pointing to the wrong side of the board, also obstructing the view of the heavy pieces, in particular the f1 rook. So somehow the pawn formation and the piece formation, there is a disconnect. They are not in good sync. Whereas for black, every single piece is really on an optimal square. Even the bad d7 French bishop is fulfilling a meaningful duty, covering important square on this diagonal. The knight on b2 has accomplished a really meaningful deep penetration. The bishop on g5 slicing, dicing. It's now looking like a heyday for the black army. Rook c4, another piece coming in with a tempo. Of course, now we are threatening to take d4 and pick off the c2 rook. So that needed to be dealt with in an aggressive fashion, and that was h4. And then queen b1. Now, that is a really cheeky move. And by the way, the only move for white. All of a sudden, it's white who is threatening with rook takes b2, eliminating the defender of the black queen. And now the queen would be hanging on d3, whereas if we take on b1, I will show this to you against the null move. So rook takes, and if queen takes, then the rook takes back from b2 to b1, and white runs away with a free piece. So instead of allowing this, Gukesh took on c3. Sorry, it was Ding taking on d3. I keep on getting my names wrong in my excitement. And now something absolutely remarkable happened. F takes he played, and at this point, black had to pick between bishop takes and pawn takes. One is very good. The other one is going to give a lot of counterplay to white. And here Ding made a bad call by taking back with the F. Bishop takes e6 was absolutely imperative. And the big difference compared to Fe is the fact that now the black king always has an escape square on d7 if push comes to shove. Also know that after bishop c5, I can simply play b6 to force the bishop off of this diagonal and allow the king to castle. What happened instead was something that made the whole entire audience gasp, because after Fe, Ding took back with the pawn, allowing knight e2, which, by the way, forces black to grab a second pawn. But now after bishop c5, not played by Gukesh, this black king is well and truly cut off. Yeah, although now, again, we are forcing black to grab yet another pawn, increasing black's material advantage to 3 pawns, the actual evaluation is now down to minus 0.8, whereas had he taken back with the bishop, it would have been minus 2, maybe even more. But by the way, when this scenario popped up, well, not on the board because bishop c5 was not played, but when I was trying to figure out which way to go, an idea caught my eye, and I'm like, hang on a sec, what's going on here? And it's game over because the queen is immune to capture because it's mate, and yet my engine tells me that black is fine here. And then I realized that there is this beautiful counter queen sacrifice with queen d4, and after bishop takes d4, we just casually pick up the rook on h7, the queen rather, excuse me, with the rook, and black still is 2 pawns to the good. If the bishop comes back to c5, we slide back to h8, no worries, and black is cruising to victory. Instead, the correct way to play here for white, and this may have been the idea that Gukesh overlooked, was rook f3 with the idea of a very quick pile-up on the f-file. Rook f8 mate is now threatened, and so black is forced to run with the king, and then queen f2, a beautiful touch to move out of the threatened fork, but also to exert pressure on the vulnerable dark squares. And here, by the way, the players had about 10 minutes each, thereabouts, and we are on move 33. So 7 moves to make in a very, very sharp position where nothing is granted, and it's so easy to misstep and it's a tactical trick. This would have been really exciting scenario. But then, again, to everyone's dismay, Gukesh came up with the very, very timid queen c2, which of course was immediately thwarted by queen c4, and that's it. Now white doesn't have time to build up the bishop c5 scenario and cut the black king off, and the rest was just pure agony for the Indian GM. Black castled, and now black is up material and has very active pieces. As good old Ben Feingold likes to say, black has the material and the compensation. But of course, that funny joke is older than the hills. And now Ding is relentless, and he played so beautiful and aggressive chess. This was the last time when he needed to come up with a cute little tactical trick to navigate his way out of this pin. But of course, he saw that way before he captured on f1, and that little trick was e5, hitting the d4 bishop. Of course, Gukesh wants to keep the bishops on the board, so he took on e5. But now after queen takes g4, the white king is way too exposed to the elements and to the black pieces. And with a couple of more aggressive moves, Ding just wrapped up. And bishop h3 was the final nail in the coffin. Move 39, very little time left. And after queen d1, now it is a mate threat on h1, no less. And after bishop d6, queen c2, king g3, and queen takes a2. The towel was thrown in. A very dramatic, extremely tense first game between the challenger Gukesh and the reigning world champion Ding Liren. Very interesting to remember now what Ding Liren said in the press conference before the match. He said that, of course, it would be great to win the first game, but I'm not quite quoting it correctly, but it was something along the lines of, but the happy person will be the one who wins the last, not the first. So now the big question is that, are his words going to haunt him, or was it a victory that set the defending world champion on a path where it will be very, very difficult to deter him? So, wow, what a win. I think a lot of smallish surprises here. The French, Ding's very impressive play style. He appeared very confident. His body language was very positive. Remember, we are talking here about a player who hasn't won a classical game of chess for almost 300 days. So with that history behind you to rock up the world championship, play the French with black, and blitz out some absolutely insanely complex and deep ideas, we are definitely super safe to say that the world champion is as prepared and as ready as one can be. And now the onus is definitely on Gukesh. He really needs to step up. Not lose faith, not lose hope, and just go rock up to the next game and just play it as if nothing happened. And speaking of the next game, ladies and gentlemen, I am definitely going to be covering that one for you too, as well, with the additional puzzles. And as I said, I'm going to try to assemble a bit of footage here and there too, to show you a little bit about the venue, about where we really are, and what an amazing World Championship match it is here in Singapore. That is going to be it for now. So once again, round one concluded, and it was a victory by the reigning world champion Ding Liren. Let's see what round two will bring.
Thank you, Andreas. That was really nice to cover the game. And of course, I didn't know, do I have to do the lessons first? I mean, the problem situations, or the puzzles, or watch the video? So I'll find out for the next streams, of course. So now we watched that. I was, of course, very happy that Ding won, also in that fashion. We are going to take a look at the positions that Andreas gave us. So here, it was the game he was talking of that he was reminded of when they started playing. So Tal Salinov, 1970, as the opening moves unfolded in the greatly anticipated first round in the World Championship, a vague memory of a game popped up in mind. Perhaps I was influenced by the Vichy Island. Okay. So, and indeed, Tal Blitzkrieg treaty in French materialized in my mind. This position occurred in a game in 1970, and the former world champion has delivered a sensational knockout blow. How would you proceed? Okay, it was shown in the video, I think, and it was taking with the bishop. So next time I know that I first do the puzzles and then continue with the video, of course. So this is a take. And it is a it is check. He has to retreat on e8, and then a checkmate with a knight. Yes. Okay. Yeah, all right. So that was good. Now here we are in the game, game one, and it is, can you find here a very powerful enforcing idea that crushes white's position? Wasn't it the sacrifice on d4 with the knight? I don't know anymore, but I try. that was incorrect, of course. Yeah. So it was this one here, f6, a sensational counterpunch in the center, of course. Although black's development is also lacking, the difference between the safety of the two kings will be decisive. Okay. Yeah, that was in the video where you said, okay. Yeah, that's the way that chessable works. If you do something wrong, they force you to put in the correct move, and then it will go on. So now the next move here. Of course, I think I would have never found it. So here it was take, I think. Again, incorrect. It was first that one. But wasn't there a sacrifice? Okay, so I just go here. No. That was, of course. Yes, and now here, right? And here. Incorrect again, sorry, okay. I'm playing too fast, of course. And shockingly, black is completely winning. Your engines will tell you that this position is about -5. In order to see exactly why this massive advantage, let's take a look at the next exercise. Okay. Okay, let's first take a look at this one. So this was f6, take, and take. A lovely move that forcibly loses a piece. This one here, that was, I knew there was a sacrifice somewhere, but I couldn't remember this anymore. But, okay, here takes, take, queening, rook c8, and shockingly black is completely winning. Yes, all right. So next one will tell us why it was so good. Now, however, it is all over, as we already have forced a mate. Can you find the whole sequence? Okay, let's check. So we already have a black to play, and we have a forced checkmate sequence. Okay, so what can that be? That probably starts with a check. Yeah, it's queen g5, check. He can block it with the knight, but I take, again, check. Okay, so then the check, the king has to move. Well, he can also block it with the bishop. But then I just, again, queen check. And so, queen check. The knight moves out of the way to c2. Then we have a check here. And he has to move to... Okay. Check. Only way to go for the king is to go b1. And if he moves b1, I can give another check with the queen now. Can I? How do I check here? Okay. Was I correct? Check with the queen on g5. So, two ways to block, both won't work. The knight to f4 or the bishop to e3. So, the king moves out of the way. And that is only square c2. then I'll check with the knight on b4. Again, only way to go for the knight, for the king, is to go b1. And if it's b1, he's running out of squares because my rook on c8 is just looking all the way down on the c file. How can I keep on checking here? Anybody in chat who likes to help? What is the forced checkmate sequence? I don't know about you, but when Andreas, well, did the recap in the video, to me it was kind of fast. Yeah, I mean, I understood everything, but not really thoroughly from just watching once. And I think he explained this, but I forgot again. So, what happens if not the queen checks, but the bishop? Then he has this escape square on e1. So that's not well. If let's check. So bishop checks, the king goes to e1, then I can, well, back and forth doesn't matter. Okay, so queen is probably correct. We had that already. Okay, we need to go back where the king is already on b1 and I couldn't check anymore. The knight is on b4. The queen is on g5. The rook is on c8. So if I check, I don't know how to check his king anymore if he's on b1. Again, chat, anybody? No. Okay. Let's try another check. So I just check with the queen on a5. Check. You can put the pawn in front, but it doesn't matter. I just take. Okay, so I think a king move is needed. So you cannot go to these squares, so only c2 and c1 are left for the king. So if he goes c1, oh, there's so many options as always. Check on a5. King goes c2, for example. It's going to be a check on b4 with the knight. I don't know. So, and again, at least 3 plies. I heard that you at least need to do 3 plies. So again, I do queen g5, check. Only one square to go. It is c2. Check with the knight, b4. Only square to go with the king is b1. And then I lose it. I don't know how to check the king except for double attack on... Hold on. Nope. I'll try my way. So I go with the queen to g5. That is the correct move. Okay. As I said, now should the knight be coming? Also correct move. And now this is what I saw. And now I don't know. But usually you should move only if you saw the whole sequence. So this was kind of guess playing. And how can I do this? Okay, I can give check in two ways, as it's a forced sequence. So it is rook to c1, check. He has to take. He cannot take with the king because it's protected by the queen. If he takes with the queen, Well, what I didn't see, what I totally forgot. Now I get it. Now I see it. It's queen g6. Check. So he only move for him is the queen to c2 and a checkmate with the queen takes queen on c2. That's it. Oh, didn't see it. It's visualization. I lose track like after 3-4 plays. Yes. Nice. All right. Okay, let's read through the text. We have the rook takes c8. That was where we originally started. Then it's bishop g1. This is one of the few moves white has to pick from if they want to keep that extra piece. Then we have the check. He retreats. Now, however, it is all over as we already have a forced mate. Can you find the whole sequence? Yes, we can. Check, retreat, check. A double check is always a good friend of the attacker. Double check by the rook on c1. c8, sorry. And the attacker. Then we have king b1, queen, queen, checkmate, and it's all over. Red over. Okay, so that was kind of okay. Now on to the next variation. Can you refute this lovely idea? First, I have to find out what is this lovely idea. Yeah, I understand that was yeah, we have that mate threat on f8. So rook to f8 would give us a checkmate. So we need to go away with the rook. If we take the queen, it's checkmate. If we go to g, yeah, I just do the move. It is queen d5 here. d4, sorry, d4. It's check and also threatening. Why is it actually? Why does he have to take? Because it's check. If he goes out of the way, I can just take his queen. But if I take his queen, it's still checkmate on f8. So what was the fourth then? Here I think I would need Barland, of course. So I'll just check on my own, of course, and now I can just take the queen, okay. Now that's here, and I just go back with the rook, and we're good. So let's see if there's something written here. So queen takes f4, bishop c5. Okay, and now we are going to that situation. Should have been played by Gukesh. The move cuts the black king off, yes, from castling, and allows white sufficient counterplay. However, tactics can cut both ways. We saw c2 in the game instead of the bishop move. Okay, so now it was played queen takes g4. All right. After the seemingly wrong queen takes g4, white might get a tad too excited with the spectacular queen takes h7 in hope that he would take, okay, seemingly wrong queen g4. Okay, so queen takes h7, as we saw, can refute this lovely idea. Queen takes d4, this is it, a marvelous counter queen sacrifice which successfully neutralizes the attack and allows black a winning endgame. So why does this one neutralize the attack? Probably everyone sees it, just me that who doesn't. So if I okay, what's the reason? I still don't see it why I have to take. If I move out of the way, well, now I get it, of course. Okay, so it's a matter of the move order. So if I go out of the way with the king, then black takes my queen. And if I don't like to be a queen down, then I have to take. So I can take right away. Yes, that's the reason. Okay, so bishop takes d4, and if king would have gone here, Queen takes, oh, I didn't see, it's essentially the same as the main line, but with additional pawn to black's account. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Rook takes h7, b, and here, okay. And black is cruising towards victory with the material surplus. Okay. By the way, I don't know about you, but I really like it to go this deep into the game that just had been played by the world champion and his contender. And yeah, it's nice. It's a deeper understanding of the game than just watching or having the game being explained to you. So that's, of course, very nice. So next and final variation. It is the full game. Okay. So it's 1, 2, 3, and then the full game. So is it fully annotated? What happens? Yes, now it is the...
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the course that we are conducting on the World Championship match.
I need to do the puzzles first and then the game with the video. Okay, I understand. Nice. Righty, so if I go here, is it fully explained? No, it's just the game. And well, just the game, it is the game. Okay. Well, that's nice. And then coming soon is the second game. And yeah, has been played. It was a draw. And I have to say, I didn't really follow the game, didn't have the time today. So I will do this, of course, in this fashion here. And yeah, it was nice. So, yeah, thank you for following, of course. And what I forgot is to take a look at my standing in the course. So if I now, I need to finish this one here. Just go to the end, click on continue. So congratulations, got it. And now I can see that I'm in position 102 with 2,660 points. Some people probably did repetitions so far. And how many people are in here? Let's see more. 102 is my position, so I click on more here. And, well, I guess it is, if I click more. Am I really last? Yes, I am last with, but that's totally okay, of course. So, is there anybody I know? Nope. Okay, but it's nice to see that that many people are following Andras Toth, of course. So I'm curious to see if, yeah, he will just give us some additional coverage of the tournament or the World Championship match as he is live in Singapore. Okay, with this, thank you very much, everybody, and hopefully seeing you tomorrow. Bye-bye.